I hope everybody's having a great day. Well, when you look around you, it's pretty hard to deny that we're living in peculiar times. To any Christian who knows about prophecy, it's plain to see that we're in the last days before Jesus is going to return for his church. In the book of Matthew, Jesus proclaimed, "As it was in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be." Well, what was he talking about? You and I are about to see just what an amazing prophecy that this is. Moral values in our world have collapsed. The war on families, abortion, pornography, drug addiction, and child abuse are running rampant. We're witnessing explosive growth in the queer community. Kids are being deceived. Many recruiters lurk online, deceiving a lot of youth who need answers but don't know where else to turn. Tragically, the gospel of gay is spreading faster than the gospel of Christ. We're shocked at the violent crimes, the mass shootings, the terrorism that's plaguing our world. What is causing everything to spin out of control? Look no farther, the days of Noah are upon us. When we compare the days of Noah to our world, striking parallels jump out. First, Jesus points out something that is becoming very obvious. He said in the days of Noah, people were eating and drinking and getting married and giving in marriage until the day that Noah and his family entered the ark. People was just doing their thing until the flood came and swept them away. The time of Jesus' return for his church is going to be just the same way. People will be eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage. Today, oblivious to the coming judgment of God. They ignored years of Noah's warnings. It was the same as it is today. People ignore the Bible, and they ignore preachers who are proclaiming the truth. There is no awareness that Jesus will return. They just don't know that he's about to turn their world upside down. In Noah's day, they didn't believe anything was going to change until Noah went into the ark and the rain began to fall. People today don't realize how close they are to the end. We see a worldwide economic collapse, disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, fires, floods, famines, and the COVID pandemic. But try to suggest to the average person that these are unmistakable signs of the end, and they're going to laugh at you. The world of Noah's day had utterly rejected their own creator. God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Does this sound familiar? As we look at our world today, we see some undeniable parallels. The movie industry corrupting our values, social media defiling our homes, video games promote violence. All of these things are polluting people's minds until the thoughts and the imaginations of their heart are only evil continually. Consider the horrific acts of violence in recent memory. Uvalde, the Buffalo shooting, the mall shooter in Indiana. The news is a never-ending flow of violence and corruption, with disastrous economic news and natural disaster being thrown in for good measure. We read in Genesis, "The earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence." Every news outlet proclaims the hostility that fills the earth. Our nation's morality is almost non-existent. More murder, more wars, and more terrorism than ever before. The wars of the last 90 years have killed more people than the wars of the previous 500 years combined. An estimated 203 million people were killed in the wars of the 20th century alone. The war raging in Ukraine seems like it's going to be never-ending. But what's worse is that in just the past few years alone, nearly as many people were murdered via abortion as the total number of people who died in all of World War II combined. While the reversal of Roe is good, the war for the lives of babies rages on. In Noah's day, dabbling in the occult was becoming common. The Bible says that while men began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. That's weird. And it was very strange in Noah's day. The Bible says that the sons of God married the daughters of men. Well, the sons of God is a term used to describe angels, and so the chapter starts with the dramatic increase and contact between humans and spirits. We should expect to see a dramatic increase in the contact between humans and the spirit world in our last days, and of course this is taking place through the increased use of spirit guides, alien encounters, or open satanic worship. The Satanic Temple has come to the fore lately after the Supreme Court overturned Roe. If you read anything of those who have been in contact with aliens and spirit guides, you're going to notice the same things coming through those beings. They're going to show themselves physically to those on Earth, if they aren't already. Today, we're seeing man play God using genetic manipulation and other scientific methods to create what they think is advantageous. Genesis explains the Nephilim were on earth in those days, and also afterwards when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. They were the heroes of old and men of renown. We're seeing the same efforts happening today, the production of super people. We read in verse 4 that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and not only then, because we read, and also afterward. The word Nephilim means fallen ones, and they were the giants, men of renown, who were the offspring of the fallen angels and the women as mentioned above. It was Satan's attempt to pervert God's plan of having the Messiah come from the seed of a woman. Satan's demons could have selected and indwelt certain men and women and performed selective breeding experiments to produce this generation of giants. The corruption of the human race was the main reason for the flood, and it's happening again. This time it's humans initiating the corruption through cloning and DNA manipulation. A lot of people have good intentions, but you can't help but think where it could end when wicked men decide to play God. Geneticists are even on the verge of creating brand new life forms. God stepped in to put a stop to the corruption before, and God is going to stop it again. Obviously, we can't speak with certainty about the giants of Noah's time because the Bible gives us just limited details. But if a man can insert animal genes into human DNA, it could surely have been accomplished by spiritual beings who were sent to destroy the image of God, which we are created in. 2 Peter 3 reads, "Understand that in the last days scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires. They will say, 'Where is this coming he promised? Ever since our ancestors died, everything goes on as it has since the beginning of creation.'" It's clear that no one believed Noah when he warned of their impending doom. Today, unbelievers and apostate Christians are mocking both the flood and the rapture. Some fallen theologians argue that the flood never happened. This scoffing only began in the 19th century, during that time of what they call the Enlightenment. This scoffing began then, and people who believe in the flood were ridiculed as non-believers, as if they believed the earth is flat. As for the rapture, the world today laughs at the doctrine of Christ's return. Many professing Christians do not believe that his coming is imminent. They have spiritualized the prophecies so they don't believe in a literal fulfillment of the book of Revelation. These ideas have only found a place in the last century. Respect for human life suffered a decline in the days of Noah. God reinforced the sanctity of human life after the flood. Before the flood in Noah's days, there was flagrant disregard for human life. I don't think I need to show any examples to see how our culture shows disregard for human life. There are several other Noah-related coincidences in our day that arouse suspicion that we are indeed in the time prophesied by Jesus. Noah, of course, is the most popular baby name in the United States for the 4th or 5th year in a row. Noah. Isn't that strange? Why are even the unsaved picking such an antiquated name? That's weird. The Apostle Paul uses homosexuality as an example of why God's wrath is coming. In a blasphemous twist, the rainbow is back. The rainbow can't be ignored when discussing Noah. God described the rainbow as a sign that he would never again destroy all life on earth with a flood. The Bible tells us the next destruction is going to be by fire, and the world is going to be completely ignorant of it. And it's also interesting that the gay community has stolen the rainbow for their use. I wonder if it means anything that for the first time in history, full-scale replicas of Noah's Ark have been built. And we're not talking just one, but there's 3. There's displays of Noah's Ark and the global flood in Asia, Europe, and North America. It's been over 4,000 years since the flood, and just now, for the first time ever, there's a full-scale replica of the Ark. The timing of the terrorist organization Hamas, which has killed hundreds of Israeli citizens, as well as Americans since '87, is interesting. Hamas is the actual word used in Genesis to describe the violence that was on the earth shortly before the flood came. Is that just coincidence? I can't help but wonder. And the comparisons are endless, and there's no doubt that the rapture is imminent. This world may want to wake up and pay attention, because we indeed are living in the days of Noah. Well, I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I will talk to you in a while.